Today on Let's Talk Crime, we're doing one of Miami's most popular crimes and schemes, and it's healthcare fraud. So Frank, let us know. Let us know about healthcare fraud and probably why is it so popular in Miami?
Well, first, good evening. Welcome to Let's Talk Crimes. That's a great subject. It's one of the things that I represent the most. And you're right, Miami is probably the number one city almost every year on healthcare fraud. Mm-hmm. What is healthcare fraud? It almost speaks for itself. But I'm going to give you a pretty close to the legal definition under the statute. It's planning a scheme, creating a scheme. A scheme is a plan. Creating a plan with a specific purpose of defrauding the federal healthcare program. You come up with a plan, and your plan includes, as its main purpose, I'm going to defraud the program to make money and to take monies that belong to the federal healthcare program. That's the definition. Mm-hmm. And just so you're straight, to defraud means to misrepresent the truth.
Okay, and then I guess could you give us maybe an example of one of these frauds or one of these schemes?
I'm going to give you a typical example. I'm going to tell you a little bit quickly because I know we'll try to step between 5 and 7 minutes how it evolved in Florida. A long time ago, healthcare fraud charges were really small clinics that would literally bill for individuals that they didn't even see. They would buy lists of patients that were beneficiaries, mm-hmm. They would buy lists, and they would bill them. Never saw a patient, never went to the clinic. They would have a recruiter go to the patient, and the patient would be paid a monthly payment so that if they were asked, they would say, I went to that clinic. Right. So why is it fraud? Well, they misrepresented the truth. They send a bill to Medicare saying, I saw Francisco Marty on such and such date for neck pain. That's the typical healthcare fraud case.
Okay, and then so then who gets arrested then? Is it the doctors, the owners of the company, the patients? No.
All of those get arrested, and I've represented all of them. Doctors get arrested because if it's under the example that I gave you that the patient was never even seen, some doctor had to sign the prescription. Mm-hmm. So that even though the owner of the clinic doesn't have to be a medical doctor, he has a doctor that works for the clinic, but the doctor had to have signed the prescription or allow the owner to use it. So the doctors get arrested for that reason. Nurses get arrested because nurses have to sign nursing notes, and they did see a patient.
They lied.
That's one scheme. The other more complex, it's where it has evolved during these years, is that they do bring the patient in sometimes. A recruiter brings them in. I'll tell you what a recruiter is later. And they do see the patient, but perhaps they bill for many more things that they really saw the patient for.
Okay. And what's so how many years do these people get, like the doctors?
Under the statute of healthcare fraud, the Congress uses the language that says up to 20 years in prison. Up to 20 years in prison. The sentencing guideline is something in the federal system. It's pretty complex, but that guides the judge on how to sentence you in that range.
Okay, wait, so then what determines the sentence?
In fraud cases, there's a sentencing guideline. The sentencing guideline has a chart, and depending on the value of the fraud is how much did you defraud the government for? There's actually a table that says 400 to 2 million, 2 million to 4 million. So that is probably the main source of the main factor in determining where you get sentenced in that range. There's many other things, whether you were a leader and organizer, whether you use a sophisticated means, but the main motor behind how you're gonna get sentenced is that sentencing table that goes on the value of the fraud. How much did you defraud?
And then I guess maybe for the patients, you know, you go in, you do this whole thing, they give you money. So when do you get arrested? How does that work?
Okay.
Like, what if I went 10 years ago?
When the federal government is involved, they do extensive investigation, and it's not like the regular daily crimes that we've talked about in this case. Police officer has a witness, I saw you do something, you get arrested. It's almost never like that with healthcare fraud. It's lengthy investigations. Many people get arrested and they don't even remember committing the fraud. They don't get arrested. What happens is they have to investigate it. They document intense crimes. When they have it together, they take it in front of a grand jury to determine if there's probable cause to make the arrest. The grand jury is a one-sided proceeding. Only the government presents evidence. If the grand jury says, okay, government, you can go and arrest this guy, we find there's probable cause based on the investigation you guys told me,
Okay.
then you get arrested. Sometimes, to give you an example, it's 2, 3, up to 4 or 5 years after you committed the crime. Many doctors and many clinic owners don't even own the business by the time they get arrested.
That's amazing.
It
Imagine doing something 5 years ago and you know,
It
they
happens
get to
all
catch
the
you
time.
now.
There is a limit, and it's a statute of limitation. In these cases, it's almost always 5 years. But 5 years is half a decade.
Right. And do the defendants usually win these cases? I mean,
I'm gonna give you a ballpark statistics, and don't hold me to it. You can do your Google search on your own. But in the Southern District, which is where I am, Southern District of Florida, I think ballpark, most offenders that get arrested on federal crimes, I think it's like 90-some% plead guilty. That means they didn't go to trial. They pled guilty. And out of that 8 or 7% that goes to trial, I think a 90% of that loses. So I think that speaks for itself. Very few people win these charges. They're well investigated. I hope that helped. As always, this is fun. Let's Take Crime as a place to come to and get general information. We're not your attorneys. We are not the place that supplements the law book or consultation with the attorney. Have a great day. If you have any questions directly that you want to ask us, you can go to letstalkcrimes@gmail.com and we'll try to answer them.
and one more thing, if you have any topics that you think you might find interesting, you know, shoot it over to the email or our Facebook page.
Absolutely. And we're going to try our best, perhaps make a program just for your question.
What you gonna do when they come for you?